Have you ever had the strange feeling of paying for mistakes you didn't make? As if you were stuck in a tide of repetitions, failures, or emotions that simply have no logical explanation. Maybe you've asked yourself, why does my life seem like an echo of pains that aren't even mine? What if I told you that there is a name for this? And what's more, that Carl Jung already explained the reason behind it decades ago. Well, yes, you may be paying for karma that isn't yours, and this changes absolutely everything about the way you see your own life. Yes, the pain you feel may not have been born with you, but it was delivered, inherited, implanted by energies that came long before your arrival in this world. And no, this is not empty mysticism or cheap esotericism talk. This is about vibrational energy, the collective unconscious, synchronicities, and the invisible contracts that tie entire generations into cycles of suffering. Carl Jung not only understood this, but also left a map, a code hidden among archetypes, symbolic repetitions, and spiritual clues that now, finally, you will begin to decipher. If you feel like there's something strange going on in your life, if the same patterns keep coming back, even when you try to escape, then take a deep breath, because this video will show you something that perhaps no one has told you yet, but that could completely change the way you walk from now on. There are people who are born with a heavy heart and don't even know why. You go on living, stumbling over the same pains, the same fears, the same mistakes, and at some point you start to ask yourself, is this all really mine? The answer may be disconcerting. Not everything you feel came from you. There is a kind of invisible burden, a silent karma that comes from previous generations. It's not a conspiracy theory, it's energy in motion. When someone in your family was unable to resolve pain, trauma, or guilt, that energy may have been passed on. And guess who? This type of karma is called transgenerational karma. It's like you inherited a backpack full of emotional rocks, even though you never chose to put them there. Maybe you are afraid of abandonment without ever having been abandoned, or you carry an inexplicable panic of failing even though you have a stable life. This is not random. These patterns are deeply rooted in family energetic ties, and spirituality, along with Carl Jung's psychology, calls these inherited psychic memories. Yes, you may be living a script that you didn't write, but that was handed to you with an ancestral signature. And the most curious thing, these dynamics tend to repeat themselves as if they were automatic programs running in the background. Then you start to attract relationships similar to those of your parents, or experience situations that force you to feel what your grandparents felt. These are the famous synchronicities, which are repeated not to punish you, but to wake you up. They're there to show, hey, there's something here that needs to be seen. And once you start to notice these patterns, the next step is to understand where they come from. And that's where we enter the fascinating territory of the collective unconscious, revealed by Carl Jung. Carl Jung said that the human mind is like an iceberg. The conscious part is just the visible tip, but what really moves us is submerged. It is the unconscious. But he went further. Jung revealed that there is an even deeper level called the collective unconscious, where we are all connected by symbols, stories, and ancestral experiences. It is in this invisible ocean that the patterns that we inherit without realizing it reside. It doesn't matter what culture you come from. Every human being shares this spiritual database, where karma also infiltrates, disguised as fate or bad luck. You know that feeling of living a life that isn't yours? Of repeating emotions that seem too old to be yours? It is at this point that the collective unconscious manifests itself. The pain of your great-grandfather, who lost everything in the war, may resonate with you as an irrational fear of scarcity. The abandonment suffered by your grandmother may appear as an inexplicable panic of loneliness. Jung understood that these unresolved contents return through synchronicities like clues along the way. A number that repeats itself, a song that makes you cry without knowing why, or a dream that seems to have come from another life. And what's most intriguing is that these hidden patterns aren't just there to hurt us. They're calling us to heal. Karma, in this context, is not punishment. It is opportunity. The soul feels the impulse to resolve what was previously left open. And when we begin to notice these symbolic repetitions, consciousness expands. Noticing these signs is like deciphering a subtle code of the universe. But how do you know if the karma you are experiencing really came from someone else? And most importantly, how to identify if you are just repeating a pattern or if you have already started to transcend it? Let's go to the signs. 2. There are pains that seem to have no name or origin. You wake up with a weight on your chest, an anguish that you don't know where it came from, as if you were experiencing borrowed sadness. This is the first sign. Carrying emotions that don't match your personal history. People who pay other people's karma tend to feel guilty without knowing why. They feel responsible for saving everyone, or they live trying to fix things that never broke. This is not weakness. It is a call to look deeper and understand what is being activated in your vibrational field. Many times, you are vibrating in the karma of someone who is no longer alive. The second sign is the repetition of familiar patterns, even when you try to do everything differently. You swore you'd never get involved with someone abusive, and before you know it, it's already there again. He said his financial life would be different from that of his parents, and he lives in debt. This is not a lack of effort. Often, it is the unconscious trying to resolve the past through you. Carl Jung said that as long as we do not make conscious what is unconscious, it will govern our life and we will call it destiny. And these repetitions come with synchronicities, names that return, important dates, even objects breaking at the same critical moments. The universe speaks in its own way. And the third sign, strange dreams, symbolic visions, or very intense feelings of déjà vu. Have you ever felt like you were experiencing something for the second time? Have you ever dreamed of situations that don't fit into your timeline? These are signs that your soul is trying to remember something that is not yours, but that has been imprinted on it. A type of spiritual echo that crosses generations. Jung called these archetypes emerging from the collective unconscious, and they appear when karma is manifesting in force. But if you've already identified these signs, then it's time to act. And the next step is to understand how to cut these ties in a conscious, loving, and definitive way. Freeing yourself from karma that isn't yours doesn't require brute force. It requires awareness, intention, and spiritual practice. The first step is to recognize that you no longer need to carry what does not belong to your soul. One powerful technique is the vibrational forgiveness ritual, where you write a letter to the ancestor, situation, or energy that you feel is stuck with you. You don't need to hand it over to anyone. Write everything down, anger, pain, compassion, and then burn that letter as a symbol of liberation. Sounds simple? But the symbol has power. Jung would say that rituals are concrete ways of dialoguing with the unconscious and with the universe as well. Another effective way is to meditate on energy cutting, which you can do at home in a quiet environment with your eyes closed and your breathing consciously. Visualize the threads that connect you to people, stories, and old pains. See these threads dissolving into light with respect and gratitude without war. This practice, when done consistently, will cleanse your vibrational field and return what is not yours. And if you want to go deeper, it is worth trying systemic family constellation, a therapeutic technique that reveals exactly where energy has stagnated and shows you how to honor your ancestors without repeating their pain. Also, start writing. Yes, with paper and pen. Journaling is not just a fashion of self-knowledge. It is a way of externalizing the invisible. Write down the patterns you notice, the dreams that impact you, the cycles that repeat themselves. Create your own consciousness map. And if you want a read that will guide you on this journey, look for the book The Hero and the Unconscious by Carl Jung. It's like opening a door inside you. When you start applying these steps, something changes. The vibration realigns, the synchronicities intensify, and you begin to feel like you are finally living your own life, no longer an inherited script. But are you ready to make this transition? There's a time in the journey when the penny drops. You realize that you weren't put here just to survive, repeat patterns, or carry guilt that isn't even yours. You came to break the cycle. He came to do something different, even without having a clear model of what would be right. This is the calling of the soul. That's when you understand that karma is not an eternal sentence. It's just an invitation to transformation. Carl Jung said that the process of individuation is when the human being becomes what he was born to be. And this only happens when you stop following the pain script and start writing your own story with awareness. Transcending the past is not erasing everything, it is integrating what was. It is recognizing that yes, there were failures, traumas, weights, but you also have the strength to give new meaning to all of this. When you start to vibrate differently, the universe responds. Synchronicities change tone. Instead of holding you back to the old, they begin to point you to new paths, new people, new possibilities. It's as if the scenery around you reorganizes itself according to your new internal vibration. And when that happens, there's no turning back. You become the healing point for your lineage. But be careful. This awakening can be lonely. Many people around you will still be stuck in the old pattern, thinking that life is just suffering and repetition. And that's okay. Each soul has its time. The important thing is that you understand that you were called to something greater. You're not breaking tradition, you're healing it. He is showing with his own life that it is possible to start over, that it is possible to be free. And once you understand this, a new question begins to arise. What is the universe trying to show you now? What's the next step that only you can take? Now that you know that it is possible to be carrying karma that is not yours, tell me, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Are you going to keep repeating the same cycles as if everything were normal? Or are you going to take control of your life and start cutting those invisible ties that tie you to the past? Because there is only one truth. The universe does not repeat signs for nothing. If you got here, it wasn't by chance. It was a calling, a direct invitation from your unconscious, from your soul, from life itself. And the question that remains is, will you respond to this call, or will you ignore it again like you did the other times? Write here in the comments, what pattern did you identify in your story? Which pain, which cycle, which repetition seems to have come from before, from far away, from others? And more, which of these teachings made you see your life in a different way? Because when you share, you activate. And when you activate, you begin to transform. Remember, the simple act of writing can be the first step to healing. And if this video touched you, if something dropped, then don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to the channel here, turn on notifications, because in the next videos we will continue digging deep until you completely free yourself from what was never yours.